Most ghost stories are personal. One person, maybe a few, see something strange. They tell their tale, but doubts linger. Did they imagine it? Was it a trick of the light? Flight 401 is different. This isn't a handful of whispers, it's a chorus of encounters. Eastern Airlines Flight 401, a Lockheed L-1011 TriStar, was a marvel of modern aviation. On December 29, 1972, it was on a routine flight from New York to Miami. Filled with holiday travelers, the plane held the promise of sunshine and warm reunions. Instead, it crashed into the Florida Everglades, a tragedy that claimed over 100 lives. But the story didn't end there. Flight 401 became a legend, not for the crash itself, but for what came after. Salvaged parts, installed on other planes, seemed to carry with them something more, something from the other side. Pilots, flight attendants, seasoned mechanics, they all reported seeing them. The ghosts of Flight 401. It wasn't just fleeting glimpses. These apparitions interacted, spoke, and most chillingly, warned of potential dangers. This wasn't just a haunted house, it was a haunted sky. The night was dark, the Everglades vast and unforgiving. As Flight 401 descended towards Miami, a simple malfunction, a landing gear indicator light, turned fatal. The crew, focused on troubleshooting, didn't notice their descent. The plane, its altitude dropping rapidly, slammed into the swamp. The impact was devastating. The once majestic TriStar was now a mangled wreck, scattered across the dark waters. Rescue efforts were hampered by the treacherous terrain. Miraculously, 75 souls survived, clinging to wreckage in the darkness. In the aftermath, investigators combed through the wreckage, trying to piece together the cause of the crash. While human error played a part, the faulty indicator light became a symbol of how even small things can lead to catastrophe. Little did they know, a different kind of investigation was about to begin. Salvaged parts from Flight 401, deemed usable, found their way onto other Eastern Airlines planes. Then, the stories began. A flight attendant, prepping the galley, saw a man in a captain's uniform. He looked distressed, his words a chilling whisper. "Watch out for fire on this plane." On another flight, a mechanic working in the galley recognized the same captain. He vanished as quickly as he'd appeared. These weren't isolated incidents. Reports flooded in. Passengers saw spectral figures. Flight attendants heard disembodied voices. It was as if the souls lost on that fateful night were trapped, their essence clinging to the salvaged parts, desperate to be heard. The airline at first dismissed the reports as hysteria, the product of overactive imagination still haunted by the tragedy. But the sheer number of encounters, the consistency of the descriptions made it impossible to ignore. Something unexplainable was happening. Section 4. The Spectre of Don Repo. Warnings from Beyond the Grave. Of all the ghostly figures cited, one stood out. Don Repo, Flight 401's second officer. He appeared most often, a somber figure with a message. He'd appear in galleys, on flight decks, his voice a low murmur, warning of mechanical issues, fires, even potential crashes. In one chilling account, Repo appeared to a captain during pre-flight checks. He pointed to an instrument panel, warning of a faulty engine. The captain, heeding the ghostly advice, ordered a thorough inspection. The engine, as Repo had warned, was found to be dangerously faulty. Another time, Repo appeared to a flight attendant, his face etched with concern. "Tell the pilot," he pleaded, "the oven, it's going to catch fire." The flight attendant, though shaken, alerted the captain. Sure enough, the oven malfunctioned mid-flight, filling the galley with smoke. Thanks to Repo's warning, a potential disaster was averted. Section 5. Flight 401's Legacy, a chilling reminder. The hauntings of Flight 401 continued for years, cementing its place in aviation lore. The airline, initially skeptical, eventually replaced the salvaged parts, hoping to lay the spirits to rest. Did it work? Some say the hauntings stopped, others whisper that the ghosts of Flight 401 still wander the skies. The story of Flight 401 isn't just about ghosts, it's about the enduring power of trauma, the thin veil that separates our world from the next. Did the souls of those lost in the Everglades remain tethered to the physical world, seeking to prevent another tragedy? Or were these sightings manifestations of collective grief and survivors' guilt? Whatever the explanation, Flight 401 continues to fascinate and frighten. It's a stark reminder that some mysteries may never be solved, and that sometimes the line between fact and fiction blurs. leaving us questioning everything we thought we knew about life, death, and the haunting echoes that linger in between.